All right, so let's go through how to estimate with two-digit divisors. So this is from Chapter 2, Lesson 5, so Lesson 2.5. When we have two-digit divisors, we are going to start using something called compatible numbers. Compatible numbers are just numbers that are easy to compute in your head. So your basic math facts, something that you can do in your head and do mental math with, where you don't need to use a calculator. So if I have this problem, 4,125 divided by 49. 49 is my divisor, and 4,125 is my dividend, and I'm trying to find my quotient, the answer to this problem. But I'm trying to find the estimate to this problem, not the exact quotient for this problem. So there's a couple steps we're going to follow. Step 1 says round the divisor to the nearest 10. Well, my divisor is 49, and I want to round that to the nearest 10. Well, the number that's in the tens place value is the 4. So this 9 is going to tell me what I need to do to the 4. Remember, if this 9 is 5 or higher, I'm going to bump this 4 up 1. If this number here in this place value is less than 5, I would keep this number underlined the same. But this 9 is above 5, so it's telling me that I need to bump up this 4 and make it a 5. And then the 9 in the ones place value will turn into a 0. Now, step 2 says to list multiples of, now that I know my divisor, 50, until you get 2 closest to the dividend, which was 4,125. So when I'm listing multiples, I'm just multiplying this 50 by numbers to try and get close to my dividend. So I'm going to start off with 50 times 10. 50 times 10 is 500. Well, that's a little far away from this number, so let's keep going. 50 times 20 is 1,000. Okay, I'm getting closer, but I think I need to keep going. Then I could say 50 times 30, and that would equal 1,500. Still a little ways from this, so let's keep going. 50 times 40 is going to give me 2,000. All right, I'm getting closer, but I need to keep going, I think. So I'm going to try 50 times 50, and that equals 2,500. Nope, still not close enough. 50 times 60, which gives me 3,000. All right, I'm getting closer. 50 times 70. Well, that gives me 3,500. That's pretty close, but I think I can get closer. So let's try 50 times 80. 50 times 80 is 4,000. All right, my step 2 though says list two multiples that are closest to the dividend. So this one's close, so let's try to find the next one that's close. 50 times 90. 50 times 90 gives me 4,500. Okay, so I have 4,000, and then I have 4,500. Those are both really close to my dividend. So step 3 now. So my step 3 is going to be divide the compatible numbers. So divide the compatible numbers. So now that I have 2 that are pretty close, I'm going to write them. I'm going to start with the first one. 4,000 divided by, and I know my divisor is going to be 50, so 4,000 divided by 50, and that gives me 80. Then let's try the other one. 4,500 divided by 50, because 50 was my divisor, I said, when I rounded, and that gives me 90. So when I look at these, I'm trying to find the one that would make more sense, that would be more reasonable. And when I look, 4,000 is a lot closer to 4,125 than 4,500 is. So I'm going to go with this as my estimate because 4,000 is a lot closer to my actual dividend of 4,125. So this would be more reasonable of an estimate. Let's look at one more problem using compatible numbers. So if I have this problem, 1,353 divided by 60, and I want to use compatible numbers to find the estimate. because I have a 2-digit divisor. Remember, my step 1 was to round the divisor to the nearest 10. Well, my number is already to the nearest 10. It's the number 60. So I'm not going to do anything for step 1. I'm going to just keep my divisor as the number 60. That's good enough for me. So now let's focus on step 2. Finding multiples of 60 until we get 2 that are closest to my dividend. My dividend is 1,353. So let's do step 2 to see what we can come up with. So if I'm finding multiples of 60, because my divisor is 60, I'm going to start off by saying 60 times 10. 60 times 10 gives me 600. That is not close to 1,353. So I'm going to try again. 60 times 20. 60 times 20 equals 1,200. Okay, a little closer. So now let's try 60 times 30. 60 times 30 is 1,800. Okay, that's on the other side of that. So that's a little higher. Let's try one more. 60 times 40. And that is 2,400. Ooh, that is too big. I'm not going to use that one. And this multiple is too small, so I'm not going to use that one. I think these are good choices for my step 2. That said list multiples of 60 until you get 2 that are closest to the dividend of 1,353. So I think 1,200, since it's a little lower, is perfect. And 1,800 is a little higher, so that's perfect. So now let's go on to step 3, divide the compatible numbers. So when I divide the compatible numbers, I take 1,200, which is my estimated dividend, and I'm going to divide that by my divisor, which is 60. When I divide that, that gives me 20 as my answer. Now if I go on the other one that I came up with, my other dividend, if I take 1,800 and I divide that by 60, that gives me 30. So remember, I'm going to look for the dividend that's a lot closer to my original dividend, which was 1,353. So I think that 1,200 divided by 60 equals 20 is more reasonable. It's more reasonable because this dividend, 1,200, is a lot closer to my actual dividend in the problem, the 1,353. So this would be a reasonable estimate.